Okay, I'm trying something completely new here. So you probably saw me sitting in the box there. Hopefully you've got my audio. I'm going to try some in-screen additions here, and it's a bit of a, it's the weekend, so if something stuffs up, it's not such a drama. Although the boats are getting very close now, and hopefully they'll be arriving very soon, and hopefully the internet here won't slow down because it's Saturday the 1st of February. We're into February already, and it seems to be going. So hopefully someone will pop up in a minute, and we'll keep this rolling. So we'll get straight into the tracker, and then I'm going to go through a comparison between the Selden rig and the SPARCRAFT rig I put on tracker, for instance, partly because you've probably seen the post about Renaud's spreader. It's cracked the fine point on the spreader for some reason, and we've got lots of different suggestions as to why that may be happening. And a lot of the boats, the most popular rig on the boats, in fact, is the Selden rig, and we'll talk about that and how that evolved and so on. So because it may become an issue. Obviously, the biggest voyages that the boats have taken is Transats, and now after this one, they're off around the world, so it's another 26,000 miles. And if the spreaders are failing after 3,000 miles or so, 3,000 or 4,000 miles or something like that, it could be a problem. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. And if we're lucky, as I'm about to press this button and it says show in stream, oh, it worked. Okay, so I'm still here. And I've got, if you don't know who I am, it's McIntyre Adventure, because it's written all over the front of me. And Plastimo's there, one of our partners. And also, we've got a streaming box up there with bits and pieces. So here's the tracker. If I now go to my tracker, we've got them all on the one page, streaming along. We've got Antigua over here, getting closer and closer by the minute, and all the boats coming in down towards the rum line. Not sure. Biggest Monkey's obviously going for it. He's tacking downwind, trying to make the, keep the asymmetrics full, no doubt. But it's a bit of a radical angle there. I'm quite surprised it's that way. It must have happened just as the 4-hourly position dropped over. He must have just moved at that point. I'm not sure. It's unusual to see that because his track is going pretty consistently down there, and I doubt whether and he hasn't been running in this direction, in a northwesterly direction, for the last 4 hours. So there's probably a little glitch going on. Anyway, they're all looking good. You probably read the reports about Dan, the man, Holiday Man, had a big squall. He says, fortunately, he had not much up, so it must have been a squall, hitting 35, whatever. So he's dropped everything, which is a smart thing to do if you're unsure of what's going to happen. And when it hit, he was saying it's gusting up around 50, which is quite extreme. And at that rate, for short burst squalls, bare poles going downwind, the boat will be flying. It's quite cool. I've had, we've heard all sorts of stories. Ayrton's on tracker during the last Transat has experienced the strongest weather situation. He got at one point up to about, he estimates sort of 60, 70 knots and quite big seas and so on. Didn't last that long, but it was very, very extreme to say the least. The boat's all okay. He's happy. Everyone's got a high opinion of the strength of the boat and the feeling of being in a solid boat, so that's always a good thing. Let's just before, and also the squalls coming through, you can see this big patch of building stuff. And I said yesterday, okay, they're probably going to get a day or today, or I said then a day or so of ongoing squalls, and then it settles down again. So that was pretty much the timing for Holiday Dan, who's over here in Immortal Game. And maybe this is part of the patch coming through, who knows what. But we'll just push the weather through while we're here over the next 2 days and just see what the colours are looking like. Yeah, backing off, pushing down to the south, which is what we said yesterday. I'll make this a bit smaller so we can see if anything's coming up behind. You can see that big patch of yellow behind them. Now, once you move that, I've got to hit that one and then come across. So here we go for the 2nd of February. About now, it's pretty much leveling out to greens, so it's quite settled. They're going to really enjoy that. That's all 15 to 20s. 15 to 20s through the 3rd. It's holding through the 4th. We can just keep pushing it away. It's dropping off. That's probably 12 to 16 knots there. There's a lot of light. There's a bit of light blue patches coming in there. That's the 4th of February. Really pleasant sailing here. It's really quite nice. It's right through to the 5th. That'll probably get Popeye and Jasmine in. And the 6th, the 7th, yeah, the weather's very settled. They've got some nice sailing. Unbelievable. And because of that, they're all arriving earlier than what could have possibly been expected, and Jane and I won't be there until the afternoon of the 4th, but never mind. That's how it works, and we can't get out. We're gearing up to get out now, but I had a commitment that I couldn't stay. We were supposed to be getting on the plane very early this morning, 7 o'clock this morning, which would have required us to be out of here on Friday afternoon, which doesn't work for me. So there you go. And the budget was an issue as well, I suppose. Still, back to the boats. That's all looking good for now, and I'll just pick it up one more size so we can see, start the back of the fleet. And back of the fleet is number 2, Jasmine, doing 4.9, but still made 110 mile a day. That's okay. 4.9 is pretty good. And they've got a bit of breeze there. They've probably got a bit more breeze than some of them in the front. Popeye, 4.1, 108 mile days. So Jasmine took a bit out of him. It's nice to know there's someone else back there if you're sailing. It's company, a bit too far probably to talk on the radio, but they would know they're both back there. Then Jacob on Bibby, 4.6, 126 mile a day. So it's a slow average speed at the moment for that 4 hours, but he still clocked the miles during the day. 126 is good. And haven't had much of the way of reports from him. And today is a compulsory day to send a message to us on the YB3. And so far, Jacob is the only one that's done that. And the last time it was compulsory was the 14th of January, and only half the fleet did it. So we will give them a rap across the knuckles, those that didn't do it, and we'll see how many actually make the report today, just to show they can actually understand how to use the 4-button keyboard to send a message. Little Ren, 5.6, 121 mile days. He's doing okay. So straight line stuff. Argo, haven't heard any bad reports from him. 126 mile day, 4.3 knots. Then Dan, the Holiday Dan, is 130 miles a day. So that big squall pushed him along a bit. 5.4 knots now. Pretty healthy, looking good. A nice report that Nikki put up there. So always good to hear from him. And John on Delja 100, 136 mile day. He's spurred on to stay in front of Holiday Dan, I reckon. But we'll just see how that goes. He's a long way from the old man, eh? Let's have a look. The boats are the same. He'll be giving someone curry, but they're both having a good time. There you go. 367 miles away from Dad. That'll make a nice conversation, but that's not too bad. When they get in, he'll be happy to be there. Peter Punt was flying. Yeah, she still is. 137 mile a day, 5.6 knots, trying to get in front of Dan, Canada Dan, on Little B, 5.1 knots and 129. So she's taken out 8 miles on him in the last 24 hours. That's okay, because if you look at it, distance to the finish, 365, and distance 340, so it's 50. She's 16 miles behind, and she just took out, what did I say, 8 miles. So another 2 days. If she can keep that speed relativity to Little B, she might get in front of him. And sadly, we'll probably won't meet Peeler as well in Antigua, which is a real bummer. Jane and I are disappointed about this, but that's life. Stop talking about it and get on with it. So a bit of fun going on there. Biggest monkey, 4.7 knots and 136 mile day. That's pretty cool, but not as cool as Peter Punk and Peeler. So they're all pushing it up there. Now, Origami, who reported struggling a bit with wind vane, struggling a bit with a few little issues, trying to not get too overtired, but still doing okay. 4.6 knots, 130 mile day. Losing out a little bit to Origami, I reckon. Yeah, 134, but it's a minor distance, but makes it challenging to try and catch him. So distance to the finish for Renaud is 174. For Origami is 211. So 74, that's near enough to 25, 26, 36, 37 miles behind. That's going to be hard to catch up. So barring anything going wrong, that's, Renaud is looking cool, but touch wood, it's not over till the fat lady sings. I'm not too perturbed about his crack spreader, and I'll explain that. We're going to do a comparison of the rigs and talk about the crack spreader. It should hold, touch wood, quite securely all the way in. So we discussed that a couple of days ago. Renaud asked me to not say anything on social media, and it didn't really worry me because it's not a big deal, but he was concerned about anyone else getting all excited and trying to put in an extra effort because Renaud might be slowing down because of his spreader. And so we just sat on it for a while, and then last night Renaud put his hat in the ring and explained what was going on, and because we were keen to notify all the other managers and skippers to get them to check their rigs, which we'll talk about in a minute. So all looking good. So therefore, based on those speeds and that time, which is now getting pretty relevant because they're very close to the finish, we could put a degree of certainty on these ETAs because the weather's going to keep the speeds up all the way in. So there's new records going to be set for the 580 Transat going into the National Sailing Academy in Antigua for sure. So it's suggesting that Renaud may finish late tomorrow, 8 o'clock tomorrow. I would say that will put him in, says 8 o'clock, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like it's going to be about midnight, I reckon. It takes a few hours of fluffing around once you cross the line, and he'll probably slow down a little bit, maybe not. So let's just say for now, it'll be about midnight tomorrow. We'll be around up and about probably. Anyway, let's see what. So all these times are in UTC. So that's going to be 5 hours before. So it's about 7 o'clock. So just a bit after dark in Antigua time, something like that. Oh, that reminds me, I've got to show you the day-night routine. And if that's the case, then origami is going to be another, 7 hours later. So it's going to be in the wee hours of the morning on the 3rd rather, locally. Yeah, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, that's a Monday. We might be traveling by then. Anyway, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. But you can see that down. Biggest Monkey, UTC's sort of talking about the 3rd of February around 6 o'clock-ish, but I'd say that's going to be probably about 9 o'clock or something, UTC. So that's just before sundown in Antigua. So it could be in the light. Little B. Am I taking that the right way? No, I'm going the other way. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, a bit too complicated. I'm thinking back to front, one step at a time. 5th for Immortal Gain, 6 for BB, and so on. 6 and 7, 8, 9 for the tail enders. So all pretty cool. All right. I'll show you the day-night routine that someone was asking about yesterday, and I crossed my fingers so I try and remember before we actually shut down. I shut down and thought, I didn't show you the day-night. Here it is. Here, there's a little grey area right there. I don't know whether you can see my toggle, but I've got to scroll down to show you where the day-night is. Let's get it right down here. Boom, there it is. So you can see this is representing what is night, obviously, and this is day, but it is actually behind time. So usually by the time, like in France here, for instance, it'll be dark here, but it's the actual graphic will show it probably an hour and a half even away from the time we actually get dark. But it moves through. So it's not connected to the weather, it's not connected to anything else at all, so you can't move it. It's just set to the latest plot positions of the boats, which is for 12 o'clock UTC. Okay, that's that one. Now let's come back here and see what happens. And if I knock that one, if I hide that one, I come up big. Hello. So now before I go into the questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to the situation with the spreaders, first of all, is that you can see if I put this one in now, hopefully this pops up. Yep, it does, and I'm still here. So this is the Renaud spreader, and you can just see the little crack just along there. And it's caused by this spreader. This is looking from the bottom up. It's the starboard spreader. Okay. the spreader's moving forward. It's heading out in this direction, and as it does, it's pushing the point of this extrusion here. Imagine if you grab hold of this and push it that way, it's loading up this point, and because there's a cutaway here to go around the fitting that the lower shroud is in, so just a cut around the extrusion, it's loading that up, and it's cracked through here. I can't, in this format, I can't do an enlargement of that, but the picture is on the post below this talking about spreaders, on Facebook. So so that's where the crack is, and it's simply because this has moved forward. Now, why has it moved forward? Well, if you understand how a mast sits there, the idea of the swept-back spreaders, they're coming back at 29 degrees, is to basically allow no backstay on the mast, and the mast will still stand up. So if we, and I'll cut through to this one now, if I hide that one, I've got to hide that picture. Hide that picture now and put this one back in. So here's the top of the mast. This is actually the master trekker. It's tapered. It's a bit different, but here's the forestay attachment here to the mast. There is no backstay coming down the back here, but the spreaders, this is the cap shrouds coming down. They come down onto your spreader, and then it goes down. So the idea is that triangulation holds the mast up. So if I now hide that one, hang on, I've got to hide that and then show this one back in stream. So there's two ways it can actually be pushed forward. One is if the spinnakers are trying to pull the mast forward, right? If the asymmetric spinnakers are applying a load on the front of the mast, as that's going forward, these cap shrouds that go to the end of the spreaders and down are trying to, the only thing that's stopping it going forward is the triangulation of the spreader back to the mast, but it puts a load on it which wants to pull these spreaders forward, right? And so that's one thing that does it. The weight of the spinnaker halyards and loading the spinnaker up and wanting to pull the mast down, collapsing it forward, the spreaders are stopping it from doing that, and that could create the crack. And the other one is just the mainsail. When you've got your mainsail up and the boom goes forward as the sail is running downwind, so the wind's from behind the boat, that pressure of the mainsail is actually physically pushing the spreader forward, right? And that can be quite large, but I don't know whether it's enough to do that. And this little black line here is a synthetic, sort of like a plastic buffer between the spreader, the aluminium spreader, and the aluminium mast. And the only thing that's holding it there is a little bit of extrusion that comes out from inside, stainless steel extrusion that comes out either side of the mast. It goes through the mast, and this extrusion for the spreader is hollow and slips over that. And this little attachment here, there's like a pin that comes through. It just has one pin there, which still allows the spreader to wobble a little bit back and forwards, a little bit of movement there, and that's also causing that to overload. So, it has a bit of movement. The rigging attachment has nothing to do with it. That's actually locked solid into the mast, and it's sitting there. So anyway, but I'll just show you a couple other things about the rigs. First of all, if I get rid of this, hide that, anyone building a boat can actually build their own mast. Building a 580, you get the plans to build your own mast, but the requirement is you have to use an approved section. Okay, so we only approve sections that are within certain tolerances, and at the moment there's one section available in Poland that's approved, and the SELDEN section is approved, but they don't sell their section to an individual to build their mast. The same with the SPARCRAFT section, that's approved, but they don't sell that section for people to build their own mast. But any country can apply to have an approved section, and the same with riggers. You can buy a rig, a 580 rig, from any authorized supplier of 580 rigs. In other words, we've got to approve the rig and make sure the dimensions are right and the fittings are good and all that sort of stuff. And it costs a rigger about €180 or something to make an application to get their rig approved or their section approved. But no one else anywhere in the world has actually done that yet. Okay. So there's options. You don't have to buy the SELDEN rig. As it turns out, SELDEN rigs are quite okay. We haven't had a problem with them. It's a very economic price. I think it's about oh, you know, 2.5, 3 grand or something, plus freight and taxes and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, that's proven the most popular. So there is, to the best of my knowledge at the moment, there are only 2 SPARCRAFT masts. One is mine that I had on Trekker, and the other one is Neil's. He's got a SPARCRAFT mast, but it's not actually built the same as mine, which was interesting for a couple of reasons. But so it's not. So anyway, so it's pretty cool. I haven't had a good analysis to see where it fits against ours, but a few other things. But yeah, there's 2 SPARCRAFT rigs, and there's no question in my mind the SPARCRAFT rig is a lot better. But it could be over-engineered, overbuilt, this, that, and the other. But it was all done to my spec, and there we sat down and worked it all out. And I'm very happy with the way Trekker's rig is set up for around the world specifically. And there are substantial differences, but the cost is nearly 3 times the price of the Selden rig. Okay, and in all these situations, there are decisions to make from the owners, and you know, compromises some places and whatever. But it is up to the owner to decide, the builder, what they want to do. And the Selden rig is good, so they're surprised as well. I had a discussion with them a couple of days ago, and they're passing it to their engineers, the designers, and they haven't given us any comment yet. And it's not really, you know, we've had two previous boats that have cracked their spreaders. Now we've got 3. So let's wait and see. It's a conversation, but it's a fair and reasonable question to ask, because they're spare spreaders now. We've ordered a couple of extras in case some other boats want them when they get in, because they actually don't have them in stock. They've got to cut them and manufacture them and stuff. So we've ordered a couple of extras. But it's fair and reasonable to say, oh, if you replace like by like, it's probably going to happen again, and it probably will. So, you know, but it's beyond me. You know, I'm not the rig designer and so on, and let's see where it goes. So just before we get into that, I will just hit this across here in a minute, and I'll show you the Selden rig first. So this is a file of shots of various components on the rig. This is actually the gooseneck end that goes onto the boom, okay, of the Selden rig. So that's the gooseneck there. I've got to hit the right buttons here. Why have I lost that? I just got to find the file. Here it comes. There it is. Okay, so I'll keep pushing this through. So that's the end of the gooseneck. That's another view of it there, so you can see the boom extrusion, and it's all metal castings there, or investment castings. This is the base. It's got a pivot pin on the trailing edge there, so you can hinge the mast backwards. So you can actually set it up where 2 or 3 people can raise the rig by themselves without a crane, by using that pivot pin on the actual base. That's the heel of the mast, I should say, not the base. There's a base that bolts to the deck of the boat, and it just hinges up, so that's pretty straightforward. This is the gooseneck. It's not a big gooseneck, but it's okay. Again, you know, it's the pivoting tab there. That's sort of just wrapped up with glad wrap around it. It's pot riveted on with 8 rivets on either side, I think it is. Not huge, but it's not a huge boat either. So that's cool. This is magic. This is something that SPARCRAFT don't have. It's a pop-in sort of like, what do you call it? It's like a train station that's where you feed your slides in and so on, right? And it's up high enough so that once the sail is down, you can push that in, it's spring-loaded, and pull the masthead cars out, which means you can strap up the main. On the SPARCRAFT one, that wasn't available to me. So the most you can do with the big top batten is still have quite a bit of sail area sticking up there, free to the breeze, which when you want to slow down in bare poles, you don't want that there. But it's a big job to get the masthead ones out, but the Selden one's perfect. Selden fittings, they're using like a T-ball fitting here. This is where the rigging attaches to. This is the top of the cap shroud. So you undo the screw plate, put your T-ball in there and twist it down, and it comes across. That actually holds your wire. That's the top of the cap shrouds. This is the spinnaker pole sheave coming out. Personally, I'm not a big fan at all of the T-balls. You know, I can give you plenty of examples where they've failed for whatever reasons, but that's industry standard. But it's just not me. So it's quite cool. That does the job. And This is just a spinnaker pole fitting. You know, it gives you a perspective of the size. This is on the mast. It's not a big mast section, but again, it's not a big boat, so that's cool. Another shot of the gooseneck there, gooseneck fitting. Just to give you a feel, this is the heel of the mast down here, aluminium cleats there, black band. The gooseneck is just on the side here. This is the front of the mast with the spinnaker pole attachment. Now, this is the top end of the spline. All the masts have to have a joiner in the middle so that they can be pulled apart. The shear line, the Selden mast, is literally just another extrusion inside. So that's actually, you can probably just see it. That's actually an internal section of the mast that goes down and pops into the other end, and then you just use a bunch of pot rivets to hold it in. So effectively, it's like you have the two mast extrusions cut, and then this inner sleeve put in, and half of that sleeve is sticking out the other side, and you just use pot rivets. So if you want to break this mast in half, you drill out your pot rivets and slide it off. Okay, that's the way Selden do it, and it seems to be quite effective. So it's all pretty cool. And we do that specifically to make it easy to put in a 20-foot container with one boat, right? And it's a mandatory requirement for every mast that goes on, no matter who does it. We've got to put it in, because if you don't have that sleeve, it saves a bit of weight in the mast, and I didn't want to start giving up other people competitive advantages and so on. So that's a mandatory requirement. Even if you build your own mast, you've got to have that sleeve so you can unscrew it or drill it apart, easily stow it in a 20-foot container. Now, this is the spreader attachment. I don't know whether this makes sense to everyone, but it's just got a bit of tube on there ready for shipping. They'll all be strapped up. But you can see there's a little stainless steel bit sticking out this side and that side. That goes right through the mast, that stainless steel piece, and it's sort of attached there. And that's what the spreader's actually attached to. So they slide over this little stainless steel feed, and it's not very big. It doesn't come out very far, and it only has one attachment point on it for the spreader. So you can imagine this, if you've just got one attachment point there, it's like a pivot pin. So the spreader can actually flop a little bit forward and back. Now, some people will say that's a good idea, and I'm not going to contradict that, to have a little bit of movement there. But by doing that, you can see it's very easy. If it does pivot forward, it's going to overload the point as it touches the mast here. So at the same time, you can see that by doing that, it's not affecting the lower shroud that comes up and fits with a T-ball type fitting, or not a T-ball, it's like a ball, and it slides in from the top and it can't pull it out, and the wire comes down through that. So it's not a big, what I call a landing space for the extruded aluminium spreaders that go in there, but it's standard practice. It's what they do, and Selden rigs have got a good reputation, so that's fine. But I'm not too worried. That's why I'm not too worried about Renault's rig. You know, the crack appearing is like a stress crack, and maybe it won't go any further, but it's not affecting the integrity of the rig at all. So we had a discussion about that, and he asked me what my opinion was, and my opinion was, hey, look, you got no problems going to Antigua, and it could continue a long way. Sometimes when you get a stress crack, it's just letting it settle in, right? So you could sail that way for a long, long time. I'm not sure. I know Jasmine had an issue with that when she bought the boat, so she just welded up the spreader. Right, just welded the crack, put it back, and then I think she bought a new spreader and then fitted that before the start in out of Lagos. So that's cool. I think that's all. Yeah, we've gone the full circle. Okay, now I'll show you some stuff from my rig before I do. So I hide that. Put this in here. So just referring to this, I've got a tapered rig. You can see the cut in the weld here. It looks nice, and it saves a little bit of weight and so on. I've got twin sheaves up the top here, and this is the various halyard takeoffs for the spinnakers. You know, there's one spinnaker halyard here. We've got another one coming out of sheave and comes down and runs off there, and then another one, and then this is the forestay and so on. So I've got quite a bit of stuff up there. Twin sheave head, right? This is all well engineered. The only Selden rig that's got a taper is actually Canada Dan. He got a taper, but it was a bit of a stuff up there because, and I won't go into the details, but effectively it all went wrong at the end, mainly because there was only one sheave in the masthead, which is completely wrong, but it caused a bit of a shit fight in the end. But in the end, Dan solved the problem and made a new sheave head box up here. So he's made his own two sheave halyards, two main halyard sheaves. So you've got a main halyard and a topping lift, and that's really important if you're sailing around the world, because you actually need two halyards up there. If you lose one or it breaks, you got nothing. So the topping lift can be backed up as a second main halyard. That was like John. John got caught out. All the Selden masts come with two jib sheaves, right? And two sheaves can be set up for the two spinnaker halyards, right? But he only had one of them rove on there. He didn't fit his second jib halyard. That was where he got in trouble. But he solved it in the end, so all was good. Now I just got to find the SPARCRAFT master bits back here somewhere, because there is quite a marked difference, but as I say, you pay for it. What do we got here? I can't find it here. Anyway, there's that one, that one, that one. Where is it? Here. I might not be able to find it after all this. Nope, it's not there. That's a bit of a bummer. That one, that one. I can't find it. Why is it not there? Staging 5. Oh, that's a bugger. I can't see it somewhere. That one. That one. It's not there. It's gone. Whew. Okay, so I might have to come back to that later. I wanted to try and do it at the same time, but it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not there. It's not there. I can't find it. I might have deleted it by mistake.
Add the new one then.
Huh?
You can add media.
Yeah, but I've got to select all the photos.
Oh.
Okay, so I might have to show you the SPARCRAFT one later, because for some reason it's not there, which is a bugger. Okay, so, but yeah, there's a huge difference in the way everything's done on the SPARCRAFT rig, and it's what you get. But I figured the boat would be going around the world, and so be it. So we'll have to leave that for now. I'll get rid of that one. Maybe if I hide that, I'm back up now. I'll just see if it leaves space for this. Shared screen, we don't want that one. Nope, it's absolutely not there. Nope, it's gone. Okay, so we'll just go back to this, and yeah, I'll show you the SPARCRAFT one later on, because it is completely different. Okay, Rex, g'day. John, Jenny Shark, g'day. John, whoop, it worked. Exactly. Warren, g'day everybody. G'day. Is it possible to send entrance a reminder message on the YB3? Yeah, but we don't do that. It's not critical. It's only a test. And these things point out the fact that they're not listening and not reading. Sometimes I feel like a school teacher with a bunch of school kids. You can give it to them in writing in an entrant update. You can then back that up with a full briefing, right? Giving them as precise details of what they've got to do. You can then back that up by giving them the sailing instructions, and it's in the sailing instructions, and then you give them a reminder before the start on critical issues, and guess what? Half of them forget to do it. It's true. It's unbelievable, because they got a lot on their mind when they get out there, and this isn't critical, but yes, we can message them. So, hey, where's your thing? But I'm using the Transat as a way to catch them out and make them realise what's at stake and why we do it. But they do have a lot on their mind when they're out there, so we don't get too stressed on this, but we know the system works. Just watched Dazzlin's update earlier. She might be a bit of a kindred spirit. Yeah, exactly. She's a classic. She's got her own style on the videos. It's interesting, eh? Just the way she's very sort of sneaky sort of stuff, very, she gets it when she's doing a video. She's doing it as if someone's there with her at the time. And that is the difference between someone that's got real camera presence versus someone that's being a news reporter, and it's easy to watch. She's a real character. So it's quite nice. Do all the boats need to be in the start line on the 23rd, or is the start open for a period that might let the boats coming down from the US? The first answer is no, they can't. They've got to be there on the start line. The reason for that is that you can't just rock up and go, because for a start, the race organisation, which is about 120 people, will all be gone. Okay, and so they can't check things, they can't brief people, and this, that, and the other. If you're following the situation, and we should talk about that with Josh and Eric. Josh was on the verge of making a decision. In fact, he more or less suggested he was going to Florida, I just looked at the tracker an hour or so ago, and he's still out there, but the weather's rubbish, and he's going nowhere. But if he can hang on, because he's still got plenty of time, but it's an epic, right? It's an absolute epic. It's a long way, and if you look at the weather, the trade winds that everyone's getting at the moment are basically easterly trade winds, and so those trade winds extend up to about 25 degrees north latitude, right? 25 degrees north of the equator, and that's still a long way when you're coming down from Florida. You're sailing down from Florida heading to Antigua. Basically, what that says is that you're going to have trade wind headwinds for the last 400 miles or even more. Maybe 500 miles of headwinds with the trades. So at the moment, the weather they're getting is a factor of the big high that's formed above them, and they've had rubbish weather. And Eric's the same, but Eric is a little bit further advanced, and the boat's maybe a proven boat. It's already done the distance, done the miles. So because Josh was saying he's got a rattle in the rudder for some reason, and I'm not sure what that is. The boat's only done a couple of 100 miles, and there shouldn't be a problem with the gudgeons and pintles because they're way over-engineered. And the bolt, there was an issue with the bolts, but that's all being followed up on the builders' updates, and we warn all the builders all the time, before you start building, right, go back through all the entrant updates, read every one of them, because it's like if there's a defect or something we discover, we put it out this is a builder's update, not an entrant update. The builder's updates tell you all of the modifications and changes you need to do with things along the way. And we did have an issue with one lot of gudgeons and pintles that we were making in China, because they're all machined out of a solid stainless steel block, right? And by doing it in China, they're good company and stuff, and bring them in, it's like less than half the price of getting it done in Germany, say, right? But it's still, they're very good. And anyway, there was an issue with the bolts, and maybe looking at his hull number, it could be in that. I haven't gone into it, but I'm surprised. The boat doing 200 miles and suggesting there's a problem with the gudgeons and pintles is pretty sad. Also, he says something's going on with his South Atlantic wind vane. He's got to adjust it every few hours. Well, South Atlantic wind vanes work, right? And you got to go back to that piece I wrote about it before. You need to carry spares. You need to do spanner checks all the time, because when something comes in that's full of nuts and bolts and washers and Loctite and grease and all this sort of stuff, silicon grease, it settles down. It takes a while to settle down, and that first 500 miles or 1,000 miles, it's just settling down, and you have to tweak it and be on top of it. So I don't know what's going on, but he's not having much fun, which is also understandable. He's got pressure. This is Josh. So he's probably a little bit down, but I'm really hoping he keeps moving forward, because the weather will break a little bit, and then he'll make some solid progress for a day or so, and then he's got to address the issue of the trade winds. But you can be lucky, you just never know. So what I said to him, because what I put up there was that, so look, if he keeps going, he's got to be there a couple of days before the start of the race, which is still, because we need to see him and we need to advise and check and bits and pieces. And so then he's already done his pre-safety check, but there's some things that were defect which he's got to solve. As long as we know he's safe, he can get out to the start line, and then once he's started, you can stop anywhere, anytime along the course. So that means he crosses the start line, and then he can immediately turn around and come back to port, and he can sit there as long as he wants, catching up, repairing, rebuilding, doing whatever, and he's just got to get to Panama in time, right? But there's that's going to be a 2.5 week bit there to go across, and even so then he can catch up and then quickly just jump across. So there is time available for him, and I'm trying to make it clear to him that that's how it works. But we would hesitate doing that if he wasn't there before about the starts on the 23rd. I think he said he needs to be there by the 21st, which is 3 weeks from now. And I just hope he keeps plodding along, because the boat looks really good. And I know he's cool, he's a sailor, but there is a huge emotional roller coaster, and he's got a lot of time and effort and money invested in the project. And the moment you stop, it's all over. It's a corny line, but it's true. And even for me, when I was doing the BOC challenge, a few days before the start of the race, I lost my insurance, and I had to have insurance because one guy, for instance, personally lent me about $150,000. And I gave him a rock solid commitment I would not do the race without insurance to cover his money, and I lost the insurance, and I thought it was all over for me. And then I told him, and he came back and said, "Don't worry about it, bugger off, just go on, piss off." So I went. Fortunately, I didn't lose the boat, touch wood. Anyway, so you have, it's a big mix of emotions, and he's right in the thick of it. He's struggling to sail there because of the weather. He's thinking about this new boat he's got, with things, is it working, is it not working? He's watching the clock, all. So it's huge for both of them, but more so Josh. Eric's been around. He's sailed a lot. He's a very good sailor. He's got a proven boat and so on. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Wow, this is getting exciting. Still time for some place changes. Yeah, quite possibly. Quite interesting. G'day, Roger. John, can you comment on Josh's post about his rudder? Well, I just did. No idea what it is, but we know that the rudders work. Okay, that's the only way I can. You have to use the class approved rudder gudgeons and pintles, because then we know they're good. The plans, the design is for a fabricated unit out of strapped stainless steel and this, that, and the other. But we said, no, get away from that, because rudders are very important, and you need to know they don't fail. But there was an issue with the bolts, and whether he followed up on that, I'm not sure. So no idea what that is. We don't see your cursor when you are showing pictures. Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Go Argo, yeah, all over the place. Sharp eyes from an Nord, seeing that tiny crack from the deck. Yeah, you do that though. Even now I do that all the time with binoculars. On our boat we sailed to Fiji, I was out checking things all the time, and the sad part is sometimes you can't get off the boat, have a good look at some bits because you can't get the angle right, but you're always checking the rig to make sure everything's right. Selden does a very good job. Selden does a fantastic deal on the full rig kit. Yeah, we cut a deal with Selden, and it's not all about price, but it is they're very good rigs. I've got no problem with them, and it is very cost competitive, and it's a class thing. And they've built truckloads. So it must be, hazarding a guess, they've probably done 35 rigs or something by now, or maybe more, 40 rigs or something. And there's a lot of builders coming through. So it is a very simple argument to say we should go with a Selden rig. So how is Little Wren? Little Wren seems to be okay. We only get information that comes to us from Adam or any of the entrants, or from their managers who are talking to them, and some are giving us more than others. So Lady Rover, little technically, we could not see you pointing with the mouse. Yeah, thanks for that. That's interesting. So I always thought that you could. Anyway, I'll try and do that better. Back in the good old days, I used to film the computer screen and use my finger, and then everyone was complaining about the finger, but it became a mark of the GGR. For the first 2 GGRs, I kept using my finger. Then I got told off too much. Anyway, I'll work on that and see what we can do for a pointer. Smart Canada Dan carrying spare spreaders. Yeah, he's got spare spreaders, so it's not a dumb idea. Anyway, we'll see. And another one, if you access your website with a mobile device, the pop-up window in the center is too large to close it. The pop-up window in the center. That's interesting. I'll tell Rob about that. I'm not sure which pop-up window, but we trial that, and in fact the system that's used for the websites is usually pretty good, but I haven't heard it. I'll make Rob aware that he might be watching this, or it's the weekend, so he's panicking, getting ready to leave as well. But that's interesting. One needs to switch to desktop mode, close it, and then back to mobile mode. Hang on, no, I'll read that probably later. Thanks, Lady Rover. Yeah, always good to get feedback. So back to the technical stuff. Thanks for the thorough infos. Yeah, I'm just sorry I didn't get to show you the SPARCRAFT rig. I can't work out why it's not there, but anyway, it's not there. Okay, worship. I was so looking forward to head-to-head race between Renaud and Kerry, literally until the last minute. Well, it's still happening. Sorry for Kerry, but he will have some interesting lessons learned to share. Yep. That's true. That's what this is all about. We keep coming back to this as if this was just a little voyage as a trial run for the MGR, when in actual fact it's a whole event in itself. So I never lose focus on that fact. They're nearly all the way across, touch wood, the Atlantic, which is pretty epic. So it's good. good job for everyone. But yeah, there's a lot more hand steering going on when they'd prefer not to be. That's the easiest way I would describe it. And honestly, if you haven't read the piece I wrote about making your boats fly, about wind vanes and how you got to look after them and what they do, you'll be surprised if you read it. All those wind vanes work. You just got to manage them. Okay, and some are built better than others, and you pay for that privilege. But everything for every entrant in the MGR and the Transat is a balancing act, between budget and time and all these different things. It's like me, I paid a huge amount for my rig because I want it to be perfect, touch wood, and there's no guarantee even doing that it's perfect. Right? It's because, often money doesn't mean anything, but I had it in my mind what I wanted for the rig, and I was very specific about that. And so that's the way it happened. And it'll be interesting because Trekker's already on the marina. Ayrton is on the marina with Trekker, and there'll be a lot of other boats alongside, and some of them, it'll be the first time they've seen a proper SPARCRAFT rig. And when they're side by side and you look at them, there's some subtle differences. So the SPARCRAFT photos are in your Facebook post. Huh? Well, his SPARCRAFT rig photos are in your... Oh, yeah. Hi, SPARCRAFT rig photos are on your Facebook post. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I turned it into a post or pressed the wrong button. I can't remember. Anyway, I'll have a look. Another advantage of a tapered mast may be reduced weight aloft, which could be a huge advantage. Yeah, that's part of the reason it went tapered as well, but it added a lot to the taper. I think Dan on Selden rig cost about 500 extra or something like that. It cost me a bit on mine as well, and it also looks good. It's as corny as that sound, but that was boat number one, and I went, oh, jeepers, SPARCRAFT rig, that's pretty hot. Bit of overkill because people think, oh, it's just a soapbox, what that ugly thing. I really like the look of the 580, but so many people in the beginning said, God, what an ugly shitter. That is, it's a bloody plywood box. And yes, it is for good reason. The raised side decks gives you truckloads of accommodation down below, and just makes sense. And people are amazed that we've got a full transom, coming up. So you just don't do that anymore. It's got to be cut away, so everything just rolls off the back of the boat. But we wanted a transom because it makes it stronger, and you can put all your rubbish up there, and it's quite secure, and it's good for lots of different reasons, So we put a transom there, or that's part of the design concept with Giannis. And so all the things they don't like, which is fine, is go build one of the other ones. Go build a fast one. The beauty of sailing is lots of choices, and I really like the 580, obviously. Hi, Don followers. I made it. Good on you. What's the latest with Mike Popeye? Is he okay and well? Yeah, Popeye's fine. I haven't heard any problems with him physically or emotionally or mentally, except he needs to have a shave, but he wants to look like Popeye. And why on earth would you get 3 tattoos when you're 70? Popeye tattoos? I think it's pretty cool. I don't have any tattoos. Who does the insurance? The insurance, okay, so various, the entrants have all got various ways of getting the liability insurance. I don't know of any boats that are comprehensively insured for the Transat. There may be one or two. I've had some conversations. A couple of them may have comprehensive insurance across the Tasman. I'm not sure. Across the Atlantic, I'm not sure, but they have to have liability insurance, otherwise they can't race. They can't get involved with this voyage, especially for the MGR. The MGR, everything changes because we set back. This is still an event, but we're running it under OGR rules, MGR rules, but it's the traditional Transat, and so everyone has to have that, and we run it a bit more like an event, doing daily tracker updates or blah blah blah. But once they start the MGR, it's completely different. They're all on their own basically, and Jane and I are monitoring things in the background, but working with the managers and so on. So they have all their own liability when they go around on the MGR. Not that they don't have their own liability now. I'll be careful. Brian, what pole has Kerry broken? Kerry has broken a spinnaker pole or a downwind running pole or whatever. No, did he break it or dropped it? There's a few that have dropped. There's two that have dropped them, and another one that's broken them. I think it is. I forget, losing track. Do we know how this happened? No. One of the poles that broke. Oh, that was Argo. Argo broke one because he hit the water, which is the easiest way. If you've got a sail poled out and you're sailing along at 5, 6, 7 knots or something, and the boat does a roll, when that sail hits the water, the pressure is massive, and it just folds the pole in half, and boom, next minute it's kinked or broken. And I think that's what happened to Christian on Argo. Is there any getting built in Scotland? I honestly can't tell you. We're passing up to 260 sets of plans now out there, and I can't keep up. So I leave it to Jane. But if you want to see, they have to at some point start their own blog, because it's part of getting class approval. If you haven't got a blog, you'll never get approved. So we can monitor the build process and the historic process. We can go back and look at it all. And all of those blogs, builders' blogs and videos and photos and all that sort of stuff is available from the Alma Class Globe 580 website. You get onto that and you go to the side and it says extras, I think it is, and you get all the blog listings all there. You can see the countries. So the index list shows you the hull number, the name of the owner, and the country that it's from. So is Scotland a country? But anyway, I say that as a McIntyre. Anyway, so that's the best way to find out. For the YB link to guys coming from the USA, what is the race's name to use with the mobile app? You just go YB races, and then it's you'll see it's the Mini Globe race or the Transat. They're both the same. So YB races, and then when you're in the YB races thing, you'll see the Ocean Globe race, you'll see the Golden Globe race, and then you'll see the Mini Globe race. And you hit that one, and you'll get in to the app, relevant one. So I love the finger. Yeah. So did I. It brought back, it's hard to describe, but I'd have fingers coming in the side of the screen on the YB track and said, this is where they are. And if I wanted fine detail, I was use a biro, but very rarely. And the finger became quite famous, and everyone was taking the mickey out of me, but that's life. Okay. Yes, 256 will be built in Scotland. Oh, look at that. There you go. I didn't know that. So you've got a Scotland build, or was that you, Mike, asking the question? No, I'm just scrolling back here. I've lost it already. Scotland, Graham. No, Graham's asking. Well, Graham, meet Mike. Mike's 256, and he's going to build in Scotland, and he's just got the plans right now. So he's starting from scratch, and if you want to go around and learn how to do it, I'm sure he'll be looking for volunteers to help him. Sometimes you need extra people when you build the boat. Yeah, go Argo. The Christmas tree boat. Fantastic. Hope you're well. That's Argo's partner, and he'll be happy to see you soon. I'm not sure. I forget whether you're coming across or not. I don't think so. No, Jane just said no. Anyway, he'll be thinking of you. I'm sure there'll be some big video chats going on. G'day, Warship. Would Janice Madursky's simple wind vane be a better solution for those sailors who have not yet become one with their more sophisticated vanes, at least a backup solution? Short answer is no, absolutely not. And the reason I can be so confident saying that Janice's simple wind vane would be absolutely no better, because it's got absolutely nothing to do with the wind vane, right? The operator needs to know the wind vane, and so if they can't work out what's going on with a South Atlantic or a hydrovane or whatever, guess what? It's not got anything to do with the vane. It's the operator. And I had a big, it's very funny, and he'll probably be watching some of this and he'll hear about it. The manufacturer of the wind pilot, I won't mention his name because it affects him. He goes into shivers, and he refuses to sell anyone a wind pilot to the 580s, and this is because of all the issues that happened with the Golden Globe race. Now, the wind pilot's a fine vane, and he sold hundreds or thousands or whatever of them all over the place, and they actually work, because I understand wind vanes really well, and they're actually built quite well. But there's still some people out there cruising around on the sailboats, and I've met some of them that'll tell you, the wind pilot's bloody rubbish, right? And every time I hear someone say that, I think, because I know it's not rubbish. It's just that something about their installation, or something about the way they're using it, or something about the way they're not maintaining it, or something about the way they're sailing their boat and what they expect from the wind vane, all those sorts of issues, right? It's not the wind vane. The wind vane is a mechanical process that does a certain set of actions to create a steering momentum or power, some energy that will steer the boat. So they all work. If they didn't work, you wouldn't be able to sell them. So, and that holds true for every wind vane, be it a Monitor, an Aries, a Seafeather, a South Atlantic, whatever. Once you make that decision, you've then got to work out how to maintain it and keep it operating, right? And some require a bit more maintenance than others, and some cost more than others. But the thing is, it's there. So if you use a basic, one like Yanis's suggestion, and B&B, the guys who work with the kit on for 580, they've got one as well, which is really good, and they work. But then you got to build it, and you got to know how it works, and you got to understand and go out and practice and trial run and stuff like that. So when you see someone turn up at the start of an event with a wind vane, they've never used their wind vane before. It's like, huh? It's sort of like, and I get that as well, because you're always stressed, you rush, you've got no time, you've got short of money, all these things. And the important thing is just get to the start line. And yes, you might not be perfectly ready, but it's better to go with what you got than not go. So I totally get it, but it's still pretty surprising, because wind vanes are really important. And if there's one thing that's going to create issues for an entrant going around in the MGR, it's the ability to have a wind vane, doesn't matter whose it is or what it is, that's well installed, and you know it like the back of your hand, because you cannot hand steer around the world. Even though John Guswell did it, right, and others have done it before, it was a different mentality then, and there are different types of boats, and so it's going to be a telling story. And when things start going wrong, the wind vanes themselves will start to get, that's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. But often, not saying all the time, but often it's the operator. So yeah, Janice has got a good design, very simple, very effective, and it works. But you can see if the operator currently has a problem, by putting one of those on, it's not going to fix the problem. There's more to it than that. Don, you can see the SPARCRAFT photos on your Facebook post. Could you share that screen here? I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe I'll put it up on Facebook instead of putting it here. I'm not sure. You can see the SPARCRAFT photos on your Facebook posted. Could you share that screen here? No, I can't. But anyway, I'm not sure what's going on there, Warren. Thanks for... Did we already go through that? No, I don't know. Because I put them up here as a thing, maybe. Oh, I'm not sure what's going on. I put a post here, and we got to hit... Well, not a post, but there's a gallery here, and I bring it up on the screen that's there. Anyway. G'day, Pat. They're flying great. They got good weather. Yeah, it's amazing, eh? Quite surprising. Hit the like, please. Yeah. Okay, last one. Good on you, Jonathan. Yeah, please like and share and subscribe. It's nearly an hour again. Jane will beat me up in a minute. So sorry we didn't get the SPARCRAFT pictures up, but we'll do it next time. And I don't think there's anything for me else here to do. I've just got to find the screen to shut it down. Here it is. Okay, so have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon. If I do this one, yep, got it. Boom, boom. Oh, now I've got to turn it on. It's disappeared. I got too much up. Here we go. See ya.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.